No, I've got no sound here with that.
Still no sound?
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Not coming out here.
No?
Oh, Tom was struggling with something with it. He was having to run it through. He remembered he could hear it in his headphones, but then he was trying to... What if you take your headphones out?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Hold on. So if I pull these out, I'm just going to make sure that microphone speaker is cool. Screenshot. Oops. Whoops.
White collar never fit clean on me. Only thing nice.
Sorted?
Yeah, what was that then? Just the headphones?
Yeah, the headphones. I think it's yeah, it's sort of recording the audio specific, like straight out of the speakers, so it's got to come out of the speakers to hear it.
Yeah, I think Zoom need to kind of get their act together a little bit on how you share data up onto their, up onto their system.
Yeah, I totally agree, man.
Anahita's connecting to me, waiting to enter.
There you go. She should be coming in. Hello.
Hi, Anahita.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. How are you doing?
I am fine. I am so sorry that I have actually logged in from Arush's account because my laptop wouldn't turn on. So it just gave me a bit of a scare right now, like 5 minutes.
Oh,
That's what happened. So do you want to do a quick test to check everything?
Well,
Yeah.
what we wanted to do was a few things happen at this end, Anahita, so you can see my face. At 6 o'clock, we go live with the Chefs Manifesto video recording, which lasts 90 seconds, which is the kind of intro. And then you and I go live. So you're going to hear a kind of video. Will has just been setting that up and it's working, so we're okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go straight ahead and introduce you. Let me know if you want me to introduce you specifically, or maybe you really need to tell your own story. I'll just say that it's Anahita. She's from, tell me where specifically, New Delhi, somewhere?
You can just say New Delhi, India.
Okay, fine, New Delhi, India. And then you can go into a little bit more detail. And then we're going to talk about Millet and how resilient it is and what the resilience sessions are all about. I can jump back in with a little bit more detail.
I just want to quickly ask you, is this going to be like a Q&A? So for example, you're going to start introduction, you're going to ask me a question and I'm going to answer that, and then another question, maybe 2 or 3 questions, and then we start cooking.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 15 minutes because what we like to do is make sure that we are telling the resilience story of the ingredients. We're not going to start cooking straight away because we want to talk about millet, we want to talk about why it's resilient, why its energy values are high, why it maybe consumes less water, why it's been so good for the community, how old it is, it's a heritage variety. All of these stories about how resilient it is for your community.
So when we're talking about it, do you want me to have the grain with me to show you the grain at that time?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, cool, works.
And then what we'll do is not really Q&A, it's really just friends. We're just talking as friends, but really what I'm trying to do is pull out of you your story.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and we've been done it already with Mokadi and Bambara nuts, and she did it. She did a lot of stories talked about health, she talked about her grandmother, she talked about how food has now helped her with her children or her son.
Right.
The connection is going through the generations.
So basically, but that's all happening. Is it happening while we're cooking, or just I want to sit and talk to you first and then cook?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
So you tell your story. And then when we start cooking, I see your recipe is very simple. It's just a matter of putting the stuff in the pan, but we can still talk.
Okay, sounds good. So I will see you in 15 minutes. Do we start in 15 minutes?
We go live in 13 minutes, and at 6 o'clock we have a minute and a half.
Okay. So 13 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to you in 10 minutes.
Okay, are you going to sign off?
I'm going to sign off because I'm going to go into the kitchen. I just have to like chop up something. So I'll just take 5 minutes to do that, clear it up. Because we just had dinner and then I just changed into my chef coat because I was in my pajamas. So yeah, that happened. So yeah, I'll just do that. So give me 10 minutes. I'll be back.
Okay, see you soon, Anahita. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, I
Yes.
guess you can make yourself busy for 10. I mean, I'm just going to potter around, do some stuff.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go.
You know, we usually only have about 15, maybe maximum 20 people on each one of these calls.
Okay.
As long as we're recording and we've got the sound right. Is my voice too high or too low? Am I speaking too loudly?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to make myself busy, but I'm not going to sign off. I'm going to keep going live.
Okay, likewise. I'm going to go grab myself a tea and make sure that no one comes in the room in the next hour. Nice one. Catch you in a sec.
Yeah. Okay, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah. We're still waiting on Anahita.
Yeah. These chefs tend to play it quite close to the wire. Mokadi didn't sign in until 2 minutes past 6 on the first one.
Really? Oh my God. I've seen the other two. They're cracking. Really enjoyed them.
Oh, did you tune in?
Yeah. I've seen all of them.
Good. Yeah, it's a shame. It's funny because there's so many channels that people can tune into, especially Zoom, webinars, Instagram, TV, I mean, all that stuff. I think it's just been saturated.
Yeah.
The reason why we're really running this is to just keep the content rolling for the Chefs Manifesto, because it should be generating content that is, once we're recording and we're capturing it, we should be able to edit it and put it into our, feeds and news feeds and websites and stuff because that's really what we're doing. So we're just kind of we're creating interviews that for posterity. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to go live at 6. Have we got any people in the queue at the moment?
Yeah, we've got 3 people just now.
Yeah.
We have Karen. Yeah, a few people.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if anyone's going to cook along. If we've got any recipe requests, has it gone out, the recipe, on the feed somewhere?
I don't think it has gone out yet. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I've helped Tom sort out some of the stuff for it, but I don't know if it's gone yet.
No, it's a little tricky because the chefs are only giving us their recipes like the days before because they're just so busy.
Yeah.
Anything through. So that's been one of our issues. So I don't know if anyone is going to cook along with this, but hopefully we'll have some people dial in. It might be that Anahita's crew will have, she might get 20, 25 people listening in.
Okay, cool. And just in terms of questions, are you happy for me to, if someone's got something in the chat, to just sort of jump in and let you know?
No, I will have the chat here on my screen.
Okay.
If I see anything come up, I mean, look, if anything alarming is coming up, if someone's trying to get in touch or say something, please let me know.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to do is let Anahita talk, and I'll try and watch the screen to my right now.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, we'll see what we get. Now
Arush is Anahita, right? I think.
Is she dialing back in?
Yeah, was she on? She was in Arush, right?
Yeah. Get her to come in.
Okay, there you go. Hello again. Let me just unmute you.
Hello.
Hi, Anahita. Okay, so I've got my all my ingredients here. I've got a little bit of fruit, my peppers, my cucumber, etc. Ready for you to give me the direction because you are the head chef.
Do you want me to show you the ingredients once, what I'm using?
I don't know if people are going to cook along on this one. I think we have to just assume that we are going to be cooking between us. So really, the story is the millet and why and what we've done.
So the reason I said whatever you have in your fridge is because the ingredients that I'm also using, they're no fixed ingredients. You just have to have a base.
Yeah.
You have to have a vinaigrette because you don't want the millet to be too dry. You want it to be moist enough. So we'll just talk about that, and we can basically just throw this idea to people that whatever they might have, for example, tell us what ingredient you have in your fridge. And if they're like, okay, you know what, we've got strawberries, or you know what, we've got potatoes, boiled potatoes, just smashed boiled potatoes with a little bit of masala added to this also becomes really delicious.
Yeah.
So it's super versatile. I think we need to talk about that.
Cool. Well, definitely. We need to go live. We are now at 6. Why don't you, if you can let everybody in, Anahita and I are not going to say anything.
Okay.
and then we're going to run that video.
Okay, cool. I am hold on. I'm going to quickly jump back out of that.
You've got to let everyone in first.
Yep. Okay. They are coming in.
White collar never fit clean on me. Only thing nice is the chains on me. Playing dirty, trying to switch on me. Only thing pretty is the
Wherefore art thou from?
Where's it going?
rugged wrist.
What is it? Is it in season?
How far has this traveled?
Is that happy?
You sure you need it?
As chefs, we ask questions about food.
I've been out here wildin'. Angel on my shoulder saying bout it.
Why so much plastic?
We sit between the food you eat
And how it gets to you.
I swear to God, if my
So we're getting together
From all countries.
all parts of the industry.
all walks of life.
To bring positive change to the kitchen.
We're talking
gon' crash,
soil,
settle down.
Carbon.
waste,
Diversity,
Biodiversity.
Water.
accessibility,
and what have we got to say for ourselves?
Plenty.
This is the Chefs Manifesto.
Oh, it's always so exciting to hear that music and see all those chefs from all over the world presenting all of their ideas around sustainability. Welcome to the Chefs Manifesto Resilience Sessions hosted by Omved Gardens. Wherever you're dialing in from around the world, welcome to a rainy Britain. Wow, it is hammering down the rain outside, but it's nice and warm in here. Today, this is our third session, talking about resilient ingredients, and we are joined from New Delhi, fresh out of her pajamas. She told me that she was having her dinner earlier on, and she's now in her chef whites. Sorry, Anahita, I had to tell that story. We're joined by Anahita, who's going to share her resilient ingredient, which is millet. 2 weeks ago, we started with bambara nut in South Africa. We then went to South America, Haiti, and spoke to a chef all about corn. And now we're going to talk about millet. Hi, Anahita. How are you? How is New Delhi?
Thank you so much, Arthur, for having me here today. Like I was telling you, it's 10:30 p.m. in New Delhi, and I had my dinner. I was in my pajamas, and then I was like, need to get into my chef coat now. So yeah, that's what happened, and yeah. So it's absolutely amazing that we can do this virtually. We were in Omved Gardens last year. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I've been seeing all the updates, and I've been seeing all the awesome produce that you guys have been cooking, and I'm feeling so proud. But hopefully next year we will be there to eat that and cook with it. So I think that's something to look forward to. But the situation in New Delhi is, I would say for restaurants in the restaurant industry, it's not been great. It's actually been very, very difficult. Our restaurants were closed for 5 months. We started opening them slowly with delivery services and takeaways. And now in a week's time, we're going to be opening for dine-in, and that also at 50% capacity with the tables very, very far from each other, so that people are not sitting close to each other. So in terms of numbers, in terms of revenue, in terms of even people that I have in my kitchen, everything's just come down. So we're trying everything in the book, outside the box, trying to survive. It's tough.
Yeah, well, that's actually the reason why we're talking about resilience, Anahita, because it's taken 6 months out of the restaurant industry. And the restaurant industry and the food systems, agricultural systems around the planet have never been under so much stress. And as soon as we start thinking about stress, we realise that food, when it's put under stress, has to be resilient. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. Surely we need to talk about ingredients that have resilience. And your point there, actually, about chefs being resilient in these stressful times is a very important point. And we can maybe talk a little bit about that later. So we're here talking about resilience, which is a kind of younger sister to sustainability. Resilience is this kind of immediate, how do we deal with things now? Whereas sustainability almost is such a big discussion over 10 or 20 years, how can we move the planet, how can we change everything? But resilience is happening right now in everyone's kitchen and everyone's garden. How can we make the best of the situation that we're in? So if we introduce millet and how you've used millet in your restaurants and how it's become resilient in your community, maybe your grandmother used it, maybe it's got something for the future. Can you start talking about millet and why it's resilient?
Absolutely. So I just want to give you guys a quick introduction on millets because I'm sure a lot of you might know about it, a lot of you might not know about it. So I think it'll be nice to just talk about it in terms of an ingredient, where is it found and why is it resilient? So I think firstly and most importantly, India is a country which has got so many different kinds of crops. And I mean, the biodiversity is absolutely ridiculous. Like in my kitchen itself, I might have like 130 spices. I might have different kinds of flour, at least 6 to 8 different kind of flours with chickpea flour and different peas and different flours and different grains and lentils. And, I mean, I'm not even going into the millet section of it, but I'm just talking about the biodiversity. So I think we are very good champions of keeping that biodiversity alive because of the regionality and the different regions in India. And every little bit of India and every different part of India, there's a different kind of a climate. And each climate actually gives you different crops. So I think what's interesting to see is from the north, south, east, west, we've got, like I was saying, ingredients. Most importantly, they're mostly vegetarian ingredients. I'm not talking about animal produce. I'm just talking about vegetarian, vegan ingredients, which are very, very high in nutrition and protein. And a lot of it, because of globalization and because of, fast food restaurants coming in, the internet, a lot of things which are very, very local and regional have stopped being consumed by the locals themselves because of this globalization that's been happening. So even my generation never grew up with millets, whereas millets is something which is very, very regional to India. It's something that's been, it's a heritage grain. In Hindi, which is our local dialect, it's called mota anaj, which means fat grain. If you translate it, absolutely, if you want to understand it. And a millet is actually a grain which is resilient because it only consumes about 1/10 the amount of water that rice or wheat would, especially rice, because rice requires a lot more water. But rice and wheat is what is grown as their cash crops, and millets are very, very regional. So different parts of India grow different kinds of millet depending on the climate. So in the south, you have a lot of ragi or finger millet, which is a red kind of a millet. It's just small grains. I've got some, I'll show you when we get into the kitchen. So ragi is actually got 3 times the amount of calcium that milk has. A lot of people don't know it. But in the south, they use it in all their idlis, dosas, whatever they might be having, they champion it in breakfast. The reason that they champion it is in breakfast is because they know the kind of nutrition that it gives to lactating mothers, pregnant women, children, is something that's more than milk. And a lot of us, and I'm talking about, me and my generation and the generation that's growing up in India currently, we don't even know that such grains exist. So there's a lack of communication. There's a lack of, continuing the heritage of certain things that are growing and obviously cooking with them in your kitchen. So when I learned about millets, I asked my mother and my grandmother that, why is there this disconnect? Like, why did we stop cooking it and why did we stop eating it? And the reason, there were a couple of reasons. So one of them was that it was not easily available in the markets. Now the farmers had actually stopped growing millets because there was no demand for millets and there was only a very high demand for rice or wheat. And because of that, they stopped growing the millets. And because of that, there was a scarcity. And because of that, people stopped cooking with it. And we never got that kind of nutrition from it. In the last 3 years, I met a lady. She runs a brand where she, gets millets from little villages and she packages it and she sells it. She works with a lot of rural communities and NGOs. And she taught me about millets and she told me that this is a grain that we've been using and consuming, but none of us know about it. Can you reintroduce it in your restaurants? So that's when I mean, it's been about 3.5, 4 years. that's when I started reading up and learning and, you know, advocating and talking about millets, because I realized it's absolutely brilliant as an ingredient in terms of the nutrition it packs in that tiny, tiny amount of grain. Secondly, it's so easy to cook. It's just a mind block that people have that it's very difficult to cook. It's going to take very long to cook. That's not true. You can use it in a powdered form. You can use it in puffed formats. You can use it as flakes. I've got some flakes as well I can show you. So it can be used in many, many different formats, and it's a versatile ingredient. You can use it from your breads to your lentils to your vegetable dishes. It can be used in many, many things. So that's when I introduced it in my restaurant. And I was really happy to know that a lot of customers were very happy to see that millets has made a comeback. And since then, in the last 4 years, we've seen a lot of restaurants, a lot of communities, a lot of them promoting millets, and farmers have actually started growing it again. So yeah, it's just in a full circle.
How far back does millet go into the culture and community and society in India? Because I know it's an ancient grain and it's a heritage grain, but how far back?
I think it probably goes back to like Indus Valley civilization, if I'm not wrong. Okay. But I mean, it's a heritage, native, absolutely very, very old grain.
Before rice, before corn, actually it was a staple and something.
Yeah, so sorghum is a millet. So for people who know sorghum is a millet. In India, we call it jowar, which is the Hindi word for it. Ragi, like I told you, is finger millet. We've got foxtail millet, amaranth, little millet. These are all different kinds of millet. Kodo millet, which is a slightly fatter version of it. And also, I'll tell you one more thing. A lot of people didn't want to eat it because they thought it was bird feed. Because of the way the grain was, and they used to use it as bird feed till they actually realized that, okay, you know what, this is what our ancestors ate, and this is what we should be eating, because it's not polished. It's got this earthiness to it. It's absolutely wonderful as a grain, and I think what we need to do is reconnect with it, get more people using it, get more people eating it, because it's good for the planet, it's good for the soil, it's good for the farmer, it's good for you and me as well.
Well, if we talk, I mean, right at the beginning when you started talking, Anahita, you talked about all of the amazing ingredients that you've got in your kitchen, at home and at work, and it's grown in India and all around New Delhi. But biodiversity, talking about this huge variety of food, surely builds for resilience. Because if one product is impacted by something, by a flood or a drought or someone being unable to pick it, you can rely on another. And if you look at biodiversity in the soil and biodiversity in the gut, the microbiome, the more diversity you have in your diet, the healthier you are, more resilient you are. Is that right?
Yeah. So I can show you some of the ingredients if you're interested to see.
Well, you know what? We've got people sitting online here who I'm sure can show us anything you've got, Anahita, before we need to start cooking. What you got? What you got to show us?
I'm going to take my laptop into the kitchen. So excuse me for...
Just while I'm going to the kitchen, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is the Chefs Manifesto Resilience Session. This is the third of our 6 that we're going to be hosting. The last one is the 21st of October. It's hosted by Omved Gardens, so thank you to Omved Gardens for making this possible. And thank you again, Anahita, in New Delhi, late at night, for staying up and sharing your ingredients with us. What have you got in your kitchen, Anahita, that you want to show us?
Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of things from my masala drawer. I've got a drawer of masalas, so I'm going to just show you. I mean, with the laptop, it's so difficult to do this. But this is if you can see that, those are about 50, 60 spices there. So I'm going to show you a couple of spices, which Arthur, you've got a masala box like this, if you remember.
Yes, we've got it. We've got it at Omved Gardens, yes.
Yeah, so these are our staple spices which we use in everyday cooking. So there's turmeric, there's coriander, which is home ground and home. What we do is we dry roast it and then we grind it. Then we've got some lovely cumin powder, which is hand toasted and hand ground. Then we've got cumin, so we use cumin in everything, very good for digestion. some salt, again, different varieties of salt that we've got. And then there are 2 different kinds of red chili because that's very important. So one red chili, which has got garlic and asafoetida in it, and as it aids digestion. And one red chili, which is just really spicy red chili.
You know, this is so fascinated by Indian cuisine, and I'm so jealous of your capacity and your knowledge, because for me, Indian cuisine in a way is probably the most developed and the most advanced cuisine in the world. Because when you talk about this chili and that chili, and this one's for your digestion, and this one is for heat, and this one is for your body, and this one, you know, so many more cultures don't talk about food like that, and that's what's always mind blowing when I speak to you about your food. Now,
this is fenugreek seeds.
Oh, yeah.
So this is used a lot. Again, a lot of people soak this at night and eat this and have the water in the morning. It's very, very good for digestion, purification, blood purification. So things like that. We've got a whole range of spices, but we're going to start off by showing you millets. So I'm going to put this up so that you can see my face and not the spice drawer anymore.
Yes. I don't know what the face of the spice drawer.
Yeah, okay. So this is the company that I was talking to you about, which is run by a lady who actually taught me how to cook millets. It's called Millets for Health. You can find it on Amazon as well. And this wonderful lady actually taught me how to cook them again, which my grandmother and mother had kind of stopped cooking. So I owe it all to her. I love the fact that she took out some time to train me and just teach me a little bit about how much water would it need. So I thought I'll quickly tell you about it. This is foxtail millet in front of me, and that's what we've cooked today. I want to show you the grain, and then you'll understand why I was calling it bird feed.
Okay, so it's quite small, isn't it? And yeah, something that we may have seen in a birdseed packet.
Yeah. So, so that's foxtail millet. Then we got some little millet here. So little millet is actually smaller than the foxtail millet. It's used in a lot of puddings, sweet dishes, payasams, milk-based puddings. Adds a lot of nutrition there. This is sprouted finger millet, which is ragi. So what they do with the ragi is they sprout it overnight and it gives you extra nutrition. So calcium, strong bones, digestion, and it's very easy to add into any of your breads. So that's one thing. And then this is pearl millet, which is basically in Hindi, we call it as bajra. It's actually one of the healthiest grains in millets. So ragi and bajra, I would say, are one of the healthiest. So it's very high in protein, it's very rich in iron, and it prevents anemia because it's very rich in iron. So it's given to a lot of women, because in India there are lots of women who have a lot of iron deficiency. So these are almost like beaten puffed rice bits. So they're like flakes. You can add them to milk and have it and get the right kind of nutrition. So these are just some of the millets that I had with me at home. But today what we're doing, sorry.
Quickly, I just want to let everybody know who's tuned in. If you'd like to ask Anahita any questions, if you go to the bottom middle of your screen and hover your arrow over the chat box, you'll see the little chat screen comes up and you can ask questions. So if you want to ask any questions about these types of millets to Anahita, please drop in that chat.
I would love to answer all your questions anytime. So I think it'd be great if you have those questions in the chat box. Yeah. And if we're cooking, maybe in between, Arthur, we can have a look at the questions, or at the end of the session, whatever's convenient.
Great. I think we need to start cooking, Anahita. We've got a quick one here from Caroline. I may have missed it, you said, but is there gluten in millet?
There's no gluten. It's gluten-free.
There we go. For all you gluten-free crew, no gluten.
Okay, so I just want to show you the Arthur. I just want to show you the cooked millet and how it looks. So if you want to cook this at home, it's very easy to cook. You just need 1 cup. If you're using 1 cup of millet, you need 2.5 cups of water.
Yeah. Okay. Quick question, Anahita, can you also eat the leaves of the millet plant? That's a question from Karen. Can you eat the leaves of the millet plant?
I haven't tried it, Karen, but that's a good question. I actually haven't seen millet growing. I haven't seen it. I do feel like it grows for a very short time and it's harvested very quickly. So we don't get to see it a lot, especially in the cities. You wouldn't see it. You definitely see it in the villages where it's grown. But I have seen them dried. So I know that they used dried, but they wouldn't be used fresh. I haven't seen them used fresh. But that's such a good question. It's good for me to research on that.
Okay, okay, so we're getting more questions in, but I think we need to start cooking because we are going to run out of time. So you're talking about how you cooked it. We'll tell you, Elena, you've asked a question how to cook it. We'll tell you that in a second. How do we make this recipe, Anahita?
Okay, so what we're doing is, the reason I chose this recipe is because it's very simple. It's basically just boiled millet, any millet that you can get your hands on in a supermarket. All you need to do is boil it. And what I've done is I've put it into a big container where I've kind of cooled it down because I don't want it to be too hot. Also, after you cook it, try putting it on a tray and spreading it out so that it doesn't become clumpy. That way it stays very fluffy. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick stir fry with some vegetables, whatever you have in the fridge. The recipe is very fluid. You can do whatever you've got in the fridge.
So I'm going to turn my heat on my frying pan. I'm just going to lean my camera so you can see what I'm doing. So if I have a disaster, everyone can laugh. So I'm going to turn my heat up and start cooking. What have we got? What are we going to do?
Okay, so you need a little bit of oil. I am using some peanut oil. I thought that I'll show you that we've got about 6 to 8 different kinds of oils in our kitchen as well. So some peanut oil or any other oil that you have, which will give some flavor, because the millet flavor is very neutral. So you can add any flavor to it.
Okay, that's good. That's heating up. And just while that's heating up, Anahita, a couple of questions. From Elena. So how do you cook the millet? Elena, Anahita just described that she puts 2.5 cups or 2.5 the amount of water to the volume of millet, and then she brings it up to the boil and cooks it a bit like rice. A quick question here from Caroline. Have any of the huge multinational grain companies tried to get in on the millet scene, Anahita? Do you know if there's any big companies in India who really are on the millet scene?
So I have actually seen a lot of small companies, not big companies, but the government itself, in all their rations that they give out, in all the public spaces where they do give out food to the poor people, and the rations that they do give out, they always give millets. So millets is something that is promoted by the government other than big corporations. So I think that's a very good thing. I'm just going to go back to the oil because that's getting really nice and hot. So I'm going to add I've got some chopped up onions. So just 1 onion chopped up. A little bit of green chili for some heat.
Okay, so you put a little bit of green chili in. How hot is your chili there? Is it absolutely tongue-meltingly hot?
Very hot. Very, very hot.
I love it. I love it when I ask in Indian, is it hot? And they say, it's very hot. That means it's very hot.
So the reason that I'm kind of just cooking out the onions is so that the rawness of the onion goes away. But if you like to have a salad with some raw onions, you can just take the millets, put cucumber, put your veggies, put a little bit of olive oil, salt, any vinegar that you have, toss it up. We're just doing a quick variation with a little bit of masala. I thought I should show you some masala as well. Yeah, we're doing that. So a little bit of salt on the onions.
So we're going to salt the onions, okay?
Yeah, just sweat them down a little bit. You don't want to cook them too much, just sweat them down a bit. And I'm adding the spices, if you can see. I'm adding some spices. So you can add some turmeric, you can add red chili, you can add coriander, you can add some cumin, whatever you like.
Okay, good, good.
And then we're going to add our tomatoes. We've chopped up some tomatoes. So just 1 tomato roughly chopped.
Okay, I got that. So this type of high heat cooking in your restaurants, Anahita, is there sometimes a really slow and long? Is sometimes a really fast and quick?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So because I only have one tomato lying in my fridge, I've got some fresh. This is made with fresh tomatoes, but it's like a tomato puree. So I'm just going to put 1 spoon of this to kind of just give it a little bit of liquid.
Right. I've got a question, Anahita, from Julie. So would you use millet in a salad as you would use like a couscous or something?
Yes, I would. So we do it in a lot of different ways. You can even temper it with curry leaves and mustard seeds. It's absolutely delicious. You can put fruits. It's basically how you would use couscous in a salad or in a roll or in any kind of stuffing that you do or in a bake. You could use this as well. Or you could even use it as a substitute to rice. So, yeah.
Okay. I've got my onions, I've got my tomatoes, I've got my chili, I've got my tomato paste. How are we doing?
We're doing great. I've got everything in as well. And what we're going to do is, because in India, we like to cook everything a bit extra. So what we're going to do is, we're going to add a little bit of water so that this becomes like a mushy paste. Just mix it all up.
We have woo! All right. We have a question from Sarah. Sarah is asking, do you ever use black cardamom in your cooking? She has recently discovered it and she loves it.
So black cardamom is something that's used very, 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 very less because it's got a very strong fragrance. What we usually do is we add it to our garam masala. Garam masala is like a mix of 15 spices. So a pinch of that is used, and black cardamom is one of the strong flavors in a garam masala or even in a biryani if you would like to make one. So while that's cooking, Arthur, we're going to quickly make a vinaigrette. So a little bit of olive oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, lemon juice.
Okay, doing that now. You know, Anahita, of all of the places I've been in the world, India is not one of them, and I need to come and visit you.
You've been saying that for the last 3 years. You haven't come.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, all right. You know what? I'm coming. 2021, I'll be there. I just need I don't need an excuse. I'm coming.
That would be wonderful. So I've just put some salt, pepper, vinegar, and some olive oil, and I'm just going to mix this up.
Okay, I've got my vinegar going in. I'm using apple cider vinegar. What type of vinegar did you use, Anahita?
So again, we've got different kinds of vinegar. I actually just had a balsamic vinegar, which I picked up from Rome when we went there last year to the FAO. So I have that with me. But I have actually run out of my sugarcane vinegar. We use a lot of sugarcane vinegar in Parsi food, which is available only in Gujarat. So I have actually run out of it.
Okay, I think I'm keeping up. This is my little lemon vinegar, my fresh lemon and cider vinegar, olive oil and some salt. Okay, now my vegetables are cooked down. They're a little soft. They've got a nice bit of colour on them, and the smell, oh, it smells fantastic already.
Okay, so I'm going to show you the masala.
Tell me, can you explain to people what a masala actually is? It's a paste. You showed me when you came to Omved Gardens, and it's basically a paste that you've made, family recipe, right?
Yeah, so there are different meanings of masala in a recipe. It could be a dry masala. It could be a paste. It could be more like, in different curries, we use different masala pastes. So I would say it's a mixture of onions, tomatoes, green chilies, coriander, and spices, which give you like a paste. And usually what we do is we grind the paste. So this cools down and then you grind it. So you get like this amazing red colored paste, which You can cook with your meats or your vegetables or whatever it might be.
Right, wow, great. I can feel we need to do just a whole program on masala.
Absolutely. So what we've got here, we've got the masala paste right there. We've got some vinaigrette and we've got some fresh vegetables. So now we're going to mix this all up and we should be ready in the next 5 minutes. I'm just going to get a bowl. Mix it up.
Oh, wow. It's wonderful to be able to come into your kitchen, Anahita, and share time with you. It's very intimate. It's so wonderful. I mean, we've got people here who are dialed in and they've just been able to really get a sense of not only the importance of millet, but also your spice drawer and warm spices and different ingredients into your food. You know, this is the chef's kitchen, right?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put some of the millet in a bowl as much as you want to make. So what I usually do is I keep this in the fridge when it's cooked. And if I'm making a soup tomorrow, like I plan to, I just put like a handful of the millet in the soup and then it just adds more nutrition to your soup. Or if you want to make a quick tempered stir fry or a rice, you can just have it. Instead of the rice, you can have the salad. So really easy to do. So I've just put this in and we're going to take some of the masala that we made and I'm going to add the masala.
Quick question here from Sarah. Do you have any tips for using millet in desserts? I once had an amazing vegan cheesecake in a restaurant in Edinburgh, Scotland, made using millet, which I then tried to replicate at home, and it was a disaster. Was it the type of millet I was using?
So, Arthur, if you remember, I made you an amaranth halwa with mango.
Yes.
So you can make desserts with millets. You just have to be careful if you're making any tarts or if you're making any kind of desserts that need a base. You need to just make sure that, for example, if I had to make a cheesecake, I would use the millet like this when it's already boiled. And then I would kind of crumble it with the butter and I would make like a nice base, but don't use it raw. If you use it raw, it won't work. Right. So you have to cook it. So maybe you didn't cook it. I don't know, but I can help you out. If you share the recipe with me, I can possibly tell you what went wrong.
Okay, Sarah, I hope you're getting some feedback there. We have Aisha saying, yes, please, we want a whole session just on spices. And
okay, cool.
I think we're going to be busy with the Chefs Manifesto.
I would love to give you a whole session on spices. It would be amazing.
Okay, well, Aisha, watch this space. Please keep in touch with us. We'll try and persuade Anahita to join us again for spices. Right, so what we're doing, Anahita, you're the chef, you're telling me.
So I have just mixed up the masala, which we made, with the millet.
Okay, I'm going to put my...
It depends. So how much ever you want to make it, however spicy you want to make it, you can put as much spice as you want. And now we're going to put all our chopped vegetables. So whatever I had in the fridge, please don't judge me for what I did have. But cucumber, bell peppers, carrots, some spring onion.
I've got spring onion, I've got pepper. And you said also to put a little bit of fruit in. Did I read the recipe right?
Yes, so any fruit that you might have can give you like this amazing flavor. We do use a lot of tamarind as well. So I'm just going to get some fruit.
Wow, look at the color. I don't know if you can even see the colors that are coming out. Let me see if I can get the angle right. This is more version of what's in the fridge here. I've got some red pepper, I've got some cucumber, I've got spring onions, I've got some coriander, I've obviously got onions in there. What else have I got? I had an old kiwi fruit. Now, should I put that in?
I think you should. So I'm going to show you with the dragon fruit. I don't know if a lot of you know that when you're cutting dragon fruit, it's really simple to cut it. So I'm going to show you how to cut it. So we're just going to put it here. Not going to use a chopping board. I'm just going to put it here. So you just cut the top
Jill is asking a quick question. Is all the veg that we're putting in now raw?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it's all raw, Julie. And then one from Elena. Are there any good English language resources to learn more about cooking with millet? I'd love to really explore this. Thank you. I don't know if you know anything in English language and millet.
I haven't seen anything, but if I do have some documents, I can share that with you. So with the dragon fruit, you just want to cut the top and the bottom, and the rest kind of just peels off. I just thought that it'd be nice for me not to cut this and keep it. We'll show you guys how you can use it. But this is going to add so much color to our dish.
Oh, you know, what's really interesting, this week has been the kind of, you know, waste food week. You know, World Food Programme has been talking about waste food. Everyone's in the International Day of Waste Food. And, you know, this is using up stuff in my fridge. So not only have I cooked millet, I can keep it in the fridge, put it in my soups, but I'm also putting stuff out of my fridge, which is going to make my dinner.
So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to mix this all up. Now, as you can see, I'm going to pour the vinaigrette and then we're ready.
Oh.
Give it a good mix.
So, Anahita, how do you think that millet will impact on the future of food in India? Do you think it's going to become an ingredient that's going to allow Indian cuisine and the continent to become more resilient?
I think it's already started happening. A lot of chefs are already experimenting a lot with millet.
Because there's an important, you know, kind of communicating tool, which is the chef now. And the chefs are able to take an ingredient, put it on their menus, and influence people at home and influence people in the corporate sector to say, hey, look.
So I think it's important to get chefs to try out the ingredient, most importantly. You've got to love something as an ingredient to experiment with it in a kitchen. You know, that's how we come up with different breads, we come up with different recipes because we want to use different ingredients. We also need to understand that every time we're putting a dish on the menu, we want to add something in terms of its nutritional profile. We want to increase its nutritional profile. So chefs have to start thinking a little bit differently. Not that you want to, you know, stop their creativity, but you want them to be creative, but you want them to also try out different spices, different ingredients, which are resilient, which are sustainable, which are biodiverse, so that, you know, you have that variety on your menu. And the more the customers try it out, the more they're intrigued to try it out at home. So I'm just going to quickly plate up. I'm just going to get my plate.
Very good. I've got a little leftover conversation from last week, Anahita. We had a fabulous, Natasha joined us. She's Haitian. She was in New York, but she's from Haiti. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about culturally corn, the connection to it, the history of it. So I thought that today, with your recipe, I would take some roasted corn, big corn pieces, because you said to me, you can put on to the salad something crunchy. So this is going to be putting on this very crunchy big corn. So I'm going to put that on top of the salad, but please plate us up and show us how you're plating.
I will. I'm just going to show you that. I wanted to show you the bowls that I'm using, so I'm going to show you that as well. Just putting some dragon fruit on the salad.
Okay. Everybody out there, again, thank you so much for joining us and spending time with us at the Chefs Manifesto Resilience Sessions. This is the third of 6. Next week, I think Connor's tuned in. Connor Spacey from Ireland is going to be sharing his resilient ingredient. And maybe I should run a competition to think what Irish food is resilient. But I'm not going to let you know now. Connor's told me that he is going to be talking about seaweed. So seaweed as an resilient ingredient. Week 5, we're going to talk about fonio from Africa. Pierre Thiam is going to join us. And then on the last session, the Omved Gardens session, we're going to be talking about stinging nettles. Stinging nettles being probably one of the most resilient ingredients we have on these isles. But Anahita, back to you. We're plating up now this salad. How are you looking?
I've already plated up, so I'm just going to show you two different platings. So this is an earthen pot or a clay pot, and this is something that if you go onto the streets in India, you will find a lot of people selling you different kinds of street snacks made in these earthen pots. It hardly costs us 5 cents. We buy it for 5 pence. Is it pence? Yes, it is.
Yeah,
5 pence. And this is from a local potter's shop. That's the bowl. And that's the salad, and it's really inviting. So, you can plate this up with anything that you want in your restaurant. You can, put it in a ring mold, and you can make it as beautiful as you want. But I think this is the best way to eat it. So
that's gorgeous. You know what would be fantastic is that earthenware pot. If we could make it into something that is edible, you could eat the whole thing. It looks like almost edible, that earthenware pot.
It's not.
Looks like a giant kind of savoury cookie. I've got a couple of questions, Anahita, as we're going here.
I'm just going to put this down and I'm going to answer all the questions.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show you mine so that I hope I can get a star or an A star or something here. Lots of puffed corn. Here's what mine look like, Anahita. It's in a little bit of a kind of earthenware pot, glazed. It's not as pretty as yours because you have that lovely dragon fruit, but still got lots of colour and loads of flavour. So thank you so much for sharing your recipe with us.
Thank you. So I just want to say that if you add any fruit, wherever you might be, apples are great, grapes are great, whatever fruit you have, it's great to add into a salad because it adds that natural sweetness. So whenever you're thinking salad, do put in like any fruit that you have in the fridge. And I'm going to answer all the questions now.
Alana has asked, this has been very interesting, says Alana, thank you. 2 questions. I'd be very interested to hear the answer to the question about making rice pudding with millet instead of rice. Would that actually be the more traditional way of making it? Ilana, we'll try to get your question answered, perhaps connecting to Anahita offline. And would also, I'm interested in those documents you say you have about cooking with millet. Would you be able to send those to Arthur to send to participants of this Zoom session? Okay, so Ilana is looking particularly, Anahita, at some quite specific questions here. One, about making a millet pudding rather than a rice pudding. And if you've got anything to share, please do send it to me and we'll get that out to any Zoom participant. Is that something you'll be okay doing, Anahita?
Whatever I have with me, I would definitely be happy to share. Absolutely no problem.
Wow.
But a lot of research is, you can type millets, kinds of millets, types of millets, and you can search that. I did a lot of research online as well. So you can start with that, and then once you get to know the different kinds of millets, then you can actually search each different kind of millet and understand if it's available in a powdered form, how can you cook with it, how can you, try different things with it. Now, to answer your question about the rice pudding, as you would cook rice pudding, you would cook a millet pudding in milk. So what we usually do is, if you're using 2.5 cups of water, you can use 2.5 cups of milk and boil the millet in the milk itself. And what we do in India is we flavor the milk with green cardamom, not black cardamom, but green cardamom, which is more expensive, much sweeter. It's called elaichi. It's the most powerful fragrance in chai or any chai mix that you might smell. It's got ginger and cardamom. So in your milk, you should flavor your milk with whatever spice you want, and then you can cook the millet in that milk. And when you're going to finish it off, you can add a little bit of cream, you can add a little bit of condensed milk, or you can add a little bit. What we do is we usually reduce the milk separately and make rabdi out of it, which is a technique which we add to a lot of our sweet dishes. So the milk is reduced with sugar, and it kind of becomes like this really nice toffee sticky kind of a condensed milk, which is homemade, and that's what we add on to sweets or like bread if you're really hungry and you just want to have that with bread.
Okay, so hopefully that's answered the question there for the rice pudding, Ilana. Julie, hi Julie, I love these sessions. Is there any way we can catch up with any that we have missed? Yes, Julie, we are recording all of these sessions, and we will be taking the first 15 minutes of each one to talk about the resilient ingredient, and we'll be putting it and placing it online in certain places, because that's on the Chefs Manifesto website or the Omved Gardens website. So yes, you'll be able to catch up with all of that. Connor Spacey is looking forward to it. Hi, Connor. Okay, well, you're looking forward to seaweed. I'm very excited to be cooking seaweed with you next week. I need to get some, so I better find out what seaweed we need. Connor, if you could let me know what seaweed I need to find to cook along with you. Anahita, it would be really nice now, as we begin to close up, to talk about and understand the resilience of the human over these past 6 months, because everyone's been connected to and has been impacted by the pandemic. And I know more perhaps than many places in the world that India has really had a difficult time. And I know when this pandemic really kicked in, you were struggling with your staff. It was very difficult to make sure people were working or eating. Can we talk a little bit about resilience of the humankind and how India has been, in a human capacity, resilient in these times of difficulty?
It actually makes me sigh. The situation is, it's very, very difficult for a lot of people. Obviously, the virus has come into our industry, and I'm going to just talk about the F&B industry majorly, because being part of it for the last 12 years, we've never seen something like this. I mean, companies, big companies which have chains of restaurants, absolutely, doing, major losses. They're unable to pay salaries. They're unable to take care of their team and their staff. When the pandemic hit us and we went into lockdown, we never got anything from outside, like not even a cup of coffee, or any takeaways or any delivery services, nothing for at least 3 months. Everything was just shut. It was just basic commodities that were available. Farmers were able to, give us the kind of food that we got. Small scale farmers that, I have worked with personally, they who were delivering to us in restaurants and hotels started delivering farm fresh produce to people at home. And a lot of people started getting ingredients from farmers directly during this time, which was a big change, especially in cities, where people would go to supermarkets and go out and buy their ingredients, but they actually started looking for alternatives because they weren't stepping out. So I was really happy to see that a lot of farmers, urban farmers, small scale farmers around the city started getting noticed, started getting more orders, started getting to, get their orders around, because all the restaurants and the hotels were shut and they were getting no business. And all their ingredients were just lying around, almost rotting. So I did work with some farmers. I did get some of their produce. I did a couple of recipes, and from home I tried and did as much as I could by sharing different ingredients, different recipes for people to kind of stay busy and sane, as it was very, very hard. Most of my staff had gone back to their villages, and now thankfully everything's opening up, so they're getting back. But the human kind has been resilient, and how it's been a tough time for all of us. But we've tried different methods to help people, to get the right food across, to help farmers get their produce across. The situation overall is not very positive, but I think people in their own capacity are trying to do things to bring about change. So there are a lot of small businesses that have started, and a lot of people who are supporting a lot of local things. So there is a hashtag which has been started by our government, which is vocal for local. So they want people to be more vocal about local industries, small businesses, and support small businesses.
Thank you, Anahita. Right, well, we're coming to the end of our 45 minutes. In fact, we've run a little bit over time, but I think it's really important that on these sessions we get the human element and understand why it's so important. So we've talked about millet today, and perhaps millet is going to be one of the ingredients that people can rely on and lean on in these times of difficulty, because it's not cheap, it grows well, it grows all over India, and it has lots of different varieties. So millet has been chosen by Anahita in New Delhi as her resilient ingredient. Anahita, we cannot thank you enough for joining us at the Chefs Manifesto.
Thank you. It's an absolute honor and pleasure. I'm so glad that everyone has been watching so well and been asking so many questions. So thank you for listening. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Arthur. And it is time for me to eat my salad and go to bed.
Okay. Good night, Anahita. Thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for joining us. Join us next week for Seaweed with Connor from Ireland. This has been the Chefs Manifesto Resilience Sessions. Anahita, you get to sign off. You get to say what you want. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Anahita, I bless you. And I can see you soon.
Thank you and good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.